Whoa. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I realize, I just moved into my new space, and from the other side of the camera, what you can't see, what I choose for you not to see, is how much of a disaster this place is and how there are still things in boxes because I took it upon myself to get rid of literally everything I own in terms of furniture. So there are things that need places to be, and for the meantime I'm pretty much just living in filth. But I'm grateful. I love my new space. It's beautiful. I can't wait to get it done. I can't wait to completely finish it and share that with you all in the future. But as for right now, you just get this gorgeous view of this corner of my living space where it's simply just my staircase. I took to you guys on Instagram and asked you to ask me some questions because it has been a year since we've done a Q&A, and I think it's time we do that. But before I do, I want to give a special thank you to Savage X Fenty for sponsoring this video. Right now I'm currently sporting their little corset from the collection. This is, I think, my favorite piece out of everything that has been put out so far. I can wear it not only as lingerie, but like in my day-to-day, I pair it with jeans. If you guys watched a few videos back, the morning in Los Angeles video, every single thing that I wore in that video was from Fenty, from the lingerie, the jumpsuit, and the corset top that I'm wearing right now. That being said, I am a huge fan of lingerie. It's sexy and it makes you feel great. It makes you feel empowering anytime you wear it. When I do wear it, when that chance happens, when I am doing the thing and I'm wearing the thing, if you're catching my drift, if you're picking up what I'm putting down, I feel like a bad bitch. This in particular, what I'm about to show you, are a few of my favorite pieces that make me feel like said bad bitch. So typically how I would style this corset when I'm not wearing it casually and I am doing the whole thing, I would sport it with these lace panties, underwear, whatever you want to call it. They may look like normal lace panties to you, but my favorite is in the back. It has these three little gems, these three little jewels to make your little backside all cute, and they fit really nice. It gives you that cheeky little feel. But also, nothing is more flattering, in my humble opinion, than a little garter situation. Garter belt, garter skirt. I like the garter skirt. Look at what I have right here. It's not your typical garter skirt. It has lace right in the middle, which I love, but why I say it's not typical is in the back, it's like fully open. You get a little cheeky action there. And then you have, of course, the little clips. If you wanna sport, having stockings or long socks, it's super cute, super chic, super fresh and fun, and it cinches at your waist really nice, which I love. Now, I think on everything I know and love, this is one of my most prized possessions of a bra that I've ever worn on my body, and I mean that with everything in me. Look at her, she's gorgeous. What I love about this bra is that it halters at the top, it's like a little bralette, but in the back it has this gorgeous silk lace that ties into a really pretty, chic, gorgeous bow. If I could wear this around with nothing else, I would. Unfortunately, I can't, but I absolutely would if I could. We're all big fans of little bralettes, something that's not necessarily going to push you up, but something that looks pretty and that you can just put under like a lace shirt or something that needs, like, you want it to be seen, you want it to be chic. This can do that for you, and it separates itself from any other bralette because of this sexy little bow tie action happening, and it's silk. Like, are you kidding me? It's so soft. I need to be worn. I need to wear this around everyone. Look at her, she's sexy. Now, for people like me, and I don't know about you, I know it's very easy to just resort to black lingerie only because I know it's going to look good and I know it's going to be flattering and sexy, but I took a chance here and I got a set that is not black, and let me tell you, I love her. I've not properly worn this out yet. I've tried it on and it is the most flattering thing ever. What I love about this and what it obviously sets so different apart from the crowd is that it has this gorgeous latex that sits on top of the lace, and when you shine it in the light at just the right angle, you'll see that the lace has some glitter to it, which I love. And look, this little latex bow, are you kidding me? This is for all my cottage core girls out there. You know, I know you're watching this, and I know exactly what you feel when you see this, because I felt it too. And I love it. I love everything about it. But not just that, it has matching panties. I know this looks a little bit intimidating, and legally I cannot try this on, but just picture yourself putting this on and imagine what this bottom part is doing. Easy access, that's all I'm gonna say. I just know that when this goes to use, it's over for a lot of people, and I just don't know if I'm physically and mentally able to handle such information wearing such gorgeousness. Thank you so much again to Savage. I obviously am a big fan. I love the brand, and I'm so honored to have been chosen to work with them. Are you kidding me? I got so giddy when they reached out. If you guys want to check it out for yourself or get some little things to match me, this one's a big one. This one right here is a pretty big consideration by Rihanna. I will leave a link down below for you guys to check it out for yourself. It's time to feel sexy. It is. It really truly is, because these days being locked inside your house and like not wearing makeup or not, you know, getting dressed or getting ready for so long can feel like you just don't have it anymore. And having lingerie, you know, brings that back just a little bit, and it's wonderful. Anyway, let's start this little Q&A, this little question and answer. Let's see what you guys have to say. I'm scared. First question is do you ever regret moving from New York to Los Angeles? No, I don't. I thought I would have. When I first moved here, I, you know, told myself I'm only gonna be here for a year. I was going in with the expectation that I was not going to enjoy it, but now I'm nearly 3 years in, and I can't, as of right now, imagine living anywhere else. I love New York, you know, I love Europe, I love Paris, I love everything about it, but I have such a close knit of friends here, and I love my apartment. Everything that I've made for myself here has brought me an immense amount of happiness, and it took some time to get there. Obviously, I didn't move here and it was all of a sudden, you know, rainbows and butterflies. I don't think that ever works out that way. It took some time. I found my people, I found my place, and I found, you know, a space to feel comfortable and actually wake up every morning and love what I'm doing and love where I'm at. So I will say I do not regret it, but will I ever move back to New York one day? Who knows? It's not off the table. I don't think I'll be in Los Angeles for the rest of my life, but as of right now, I'm happy here, and that's all that matters. The next question is how to get out of a writing funk. I read something somewhere that basically said writer's block is like this myth, and when I read that, I was like, bullshit, first of all, because I experienced that a lot. But the more reading into it and the more thinking about it, it made a lot of sense. I think a lot of writer's block stems from not allowing ourselves to write things that we are not happy with. I mean, the whole idea of writer's block is I have absolutely no idea of what to write about. So what I've learned from that information is to, even when I'm experiencing writer's block and I don't know necessarily what to write about or nothing's really sparking any sort of joy or inspiration, to just write anyways, even if it's bad. Nobody's gonna read it, and I know that there's a fear that lives inside everyone's head that's like, I don't want to write anything bad or like be embarrassed or look back and read this and think that I'm ridiculous, which is not the case. Nobody's going to read it as long as it's in your journal and to yourself. Like, all of those bad ideas will be put to use one day. I have so many pages in my journal that are filled with pure nothingness, and at the time meant nothing to me, and I felt like it was bad. But moving on in the future, when writing about other things, I was able to look back at those old pieces that I had written and pull something from it, or even just the sense of, you know, allowing yourself to write bad things. It's almost like brain practice and writing practice. You're keeping on with the writing until you get to a place where you find something that is good enough that you're happy with. That's my biggest piece of advice. Another thing is reading. I do it every time before I write, is I make sure to read something, even if it's just for a few pages, just to kind of get my brain in the mode of writing. You know, there are certain scenarios and situations where I read a style of writing and I'm inspired by that, or, you know, I'm reading a story in a book and it somehow triggers my brain to remember something that happened in my life that I'm able to then write about. What are you reading right now? So a lot of what I'm reading at the moment is quite boring, and it's solely for the fact of research, you know, making my brain expand outside of what I already know and things that I already feel like are fun to me. I will eventually film another book corner. I know it's been so long since I've done that, but I've read so much since, and now I have an entire wall filled with books. I got a bookshelf, thank God. But one recommendation I can give you that was one of my favorite reads during quarantine was My Year of Rest and Relaxation. Rarely do I ever find myself reading fiction. You know, I used to a lot as a kid and as a teenager, but in my early adult years, I kind of grew out of it, and not for any reason in particular, but My Year of Rest and Relaxation was recommended to me by a friend, and I legitimately finished the entire thing in a day. I could not put it down. I even told myself, I was getting really deep into it, and I would pause and I'd be like, okay, give yourself 30 minutes to just take a break, go on your phone, have some coffee, you know, relax for a moment. And I would get 5 minutes into scrolling Instagram and I'd be like, no, I need to know what happens. Like, I cannot be involved with anything on my phone. It had me in a trance for an entire day. Trigger warning before I discuss the book, you know, in regards to depression and dissociativeness. My Year of Rest and Relaxation is about a woman who is experiencing both of those things, and finds herself in this, you know, state of not really wanting to live, and her day-to-day just seems to blend into one another. So she meets a psychiatrist who is not sane herself and is prescribing her all of these sedatives to basically put herself into a coma for an entire year. You just follow along her story. At times it feels very repetitive, and I read a lot of reviews and that was like kind of the biggest complaint, is that it did feel repetitive. But I kind of looked at it in a sense of, you know, she's living her every single day, sleeping and trying to force herself to sleep. Of course, nothing fun is going to happen out of that. It's not going to be the most exciting thing in the world. So reading that repetitiveness almost feels like you're experiencing the same thing as she is. You know, it also follows in with her best friend, who she felt that she's outgrown, and partner, boyfriend type person in her life that is extremely toxic to her. Yeah, it's definitely a heavy read, but I really enjoyed it and will recommend that through and through. How to deal with unrequited love. That is a huge lesson I have learned this year, because I have been in a scenario or two where, you know, I've liked somebody and it wasn't reciprocated back in the way that I want, especially living in a culture in Los Angeles where nobody really is looking for anything serious, and that's fine. Like, that's everyone's own prerogative. Do your thing, and if you want to date around, do it. That's fine. We're young. That's cool. But there are situations and scenarios that I've been in where, you know, obviously I've liked somebody and they've only really half liked me or not really liked me back, and it has done so much to, it feels like a blow to the ego, and it makes you feel insecure. It makes you wonder, like, is there anything wrong with me? After experiencing that and growing out of that and learning from those situations, the biggest takeaway I've learned from it is that, like, rejection is a huge part of life, and we're going to experience it in one way or another. It happens, and you can't be mad or upset at someone for not liking you back the way that you like them. It is not anyone's fault, and unfortunately we're not in control of our feelings as much as we'd like to be. There have been so many times where even someone has liked me and I've tried so hard to like them back, but it wasn't there, and sometimes that's the case and we have to deal with it. We're adults. The sooner you realize that, the better you'll feel about handling that rejection and unrequited love. The silver lining to that is that every person that has rejected you, and you know, it is unrequited, just brings you a little bit closer to the person that will love you back in the same way that you love them. And I know that thought seems nearly impossible when you're dealing with unrequited love, but I can guarantee and I promise you that there will be a day where you look back at these moments and think to yourself, damn, I'm so glad that that didn't work out. This question is funny because I went and checked on my Spotify and not surprised. What are the 3 songs you have consistently listened to since the beginning of the year? And though Spotify is not going to give me from like the beginning of the year, I think this is just kind of giving me like what I'm listening to right now, like at this moment. It seems as though I'm going through something. I'm going to be honest. Something, are you hurt? Are you okay? I'm fine, but like, this says otherwise. The first one is The One by Taylor Swift from Folklore. The second is Supermodel by SZA. And the third is I Want You by Janet Jackson. And that is all I'm going to say. The next question just kind of like goes into the last question. You know, what have you been listening to in terms of music? I have been on a roll lately with creating Spotify playlists for you guys. I cannot stress enough how much I love creating Spotify playlists. So I will link some down below what I'm listening to. I think my favorite one at the moment that I've created is To Be Your Mary Magdalene, which is, you know, the longing of someone, and also Energy Ecstasy, which I really like. Again, I'll link you my Spotify and we can all jam out together. What are your favorite spots in Los Angeles? The top one that comes to mind is my favorite thing to do. Most of the time it's when I'm feeling upset, but I have done it when I feel great and happy. It was utilized a lot during quarantine. Enya, Drew, and I all really love, like in the middle of the night, midnight, 1 a.m. to just drive the PCH. We call it PCH therapy, up to Malibu, but then take a right turn onto Topanga Canyon and just drive up the canyon and blast music that makes us really feel things. It's embarrassing. I literally have a vision of being heartbroken earlier this summer, Enya texting me and being like, get ready, I'm picking you up, we are going to Topanga right now. So she picks me up and we drive to Topanga. We're going up and down the canyons, and oh my god, not us driving through the canyon and Landslide by Fleetwood Mac coming on shuffle and me having an absolute insane panic attack where I'm crying in the passenger seat of the car and Enya's like rubbing my back as she's driving. It was a lot to handle and I'm glad that it happened. Thank you, PCH therapy, but god damn, that was embarrassing. That I have second embarrassment thinking about it. That being said, I actually did it the other day and I was happy and fine and it was fun. The next question is how to accept and let go in love. All right, I'm no relationship therapist or expert here, but the biggest piece of advice I've given myself is to look at every situation that didn't work out and instead of beating yourself up and being like, why is this always happening to me? Like, why am I being treated this way? Like, why me, is to get rid of those thoughts and ask yourself, what is this teaching me? What am I learning from this? What can I pull from this situation and, you know, experience and learn and grow from and bring it on to my next relationship? Not even just relationship, but friendships or who you are as a person, because there's so many times in my life where things have not worked out and it was really hard for me to let go because I was so focused on how could somebody treat someone this way, or why did it end up the way that it did. Sitting in that guilt and that anger for so long and not being able to let it go is just debilitating. And while it's great for your art to, you know, reminisce and not let go of things and write sad shit all the time, while that's great, I think it's important to, you know, put your mental health first and ask yourself, what did this teach me and how can I learn from it and how can I move forward? Because the moment you're finding lessons in all of the bad things that happened with your love life, it becomes easier to let go because you're like, all right, that was a learning lesson. That was a time in my life that was meant for that person, and now it's time to move on, learn more about myself, grow from that, and give a better version of who I am to the next person that I'm going to be with. How do you motivate yourself to fulfill your goals? What I found recently is to just tell my closest friends about my goals, even if they seem like so far-fetched, because the moment I'm putting it into someone else's head that loves and trusts my vision, the more I feel motivated to get that project or goal done because somebody else already has an expectation of me and they're excited about it. So I want to be excited about it too, and I want to finish said project or said goal. That's personally for me. Some people don't like to do that. Some people like to keep things to themselves until they're like fully fleshed out and the idea has been done and the project has been complete. But for me personally in my life, I'm like, listen, I'm doing this thing. I plan on doing this thing. I want it done in 6 months, and then I need somebody to hype me up for a second. So then I have the idea in my head of I need to get this done so I'm not letting anyone else down and I'm not letting myself down. And that's, don't know if that's the healthiest thing to do, but that's what I do. Did you always like your tooth gap? No, I hated it growing up. Are you kidding me? It was so bad and such a huge part of my identity growing up that made me incredibly insecure. Granted, when I was younger, I had much more of an overbite. My gap in my teeth were a bit bigger. I just didn't feel confident at all, especially because the people that I went to school with were assholes and they called me names. I'm literally not kidding you. The name Bucktooth Beaver is engraved in my head because I got called that so many times in middle school. And by the time that I got braces, I fucking walked into school like smiling so big. I'm like, yeah, you bitches can't say shit anymore because I have braces now and I'm gonna get this shit closed and it's over. It's over. I'm done with this. So I got the braces to close everything, and it wasn't just to close the gap, you know, my teeth were kind of all over the place. I got the braces taken off in high school and I got the retainer. I lost 2 retainers and I got to my 3rd one and I accidentally threw it away. You know, my parents could not afford to just keep buying like $300 retainers, and I didn't have a job at the time, so I couldn't afford to do it. So by the time I lost my 3rd one, I was too afraid to tell my mom. I was too afraid to tell my dad, and like fear that they would get mad at having to buy another retainer. Also, my orthodontist never once ever mentioned the possibility of getting like the permanent retainer. Like I had no idea that existed. Then by the time my gap started opening back up and my parents noticed, I obviously had to tell them that I lost my retainer and that I'm sorry, and I felt so guilty. I went back to the dentist. I was like, can I get another retainer to like close this up? It wasn't that big, the gap at the time. And they were like, no, you're gonna need to get braces again to close that up. And I was like, absolutely no way am I getting braces again. So when the gap started coming back, I was insecure again. Like I hated it. It was not, you know, obviously brought up a lot of past traumas for me. I know it sounds stupid to call it traumas, but like it genuinely was. It was a huge source of my insecurities growing up. So yeah, when I was coming back, it was really not a fun time for me. But then I started embracing it more and more online. You know, so many other people that I saw online that also had gaps and that were just so confident in them and they looked so beautiful, and I could look at them and be like, they are beautiful. Why don't I think I'm beautiful with this gap? I began to love myself more and more because I'm like, this feels like a part of my personality. This feels like it's me. I mean, I grew up with it. Why, you know, it's here to stay, clearly. So I do love it. I love it now. I'm happy with it. I am annoyed always that people on the internet think that I paid to get a gap. I talk about this all the time, but it's like the most insane rumor I've ever heard. The last question I'll be answering is, who is your favorite author? And though I love so many, top 2 would be Maggie Nelson and Patti Smith, both who do poetry but have, you know, filtered their way into more of narrative pieces. Like Patti Smith has the M Train and Just Kids, and Maggie Nelson has the Red Parts. And that's the only novel I could think of that comes to mind, but her poetry books are just like, that woman knows too much, and it is not only stressful to me, but very, very inspiring. So those are all of the questions I will be answering for today's video. There were so many, so I can only imagine that I will be doing another one very soon. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Yeah, okay, cool. Bye.